Issue 264 Reboot. And the Werehogs on the cover. Well, there goes the surprise. I know the reboot was selling poorly, but that's no excuse. The plots of the reboot are so basic that they can usually be summarized in one sentence. So a huge spoiler on the cover is a big problem. We start out in South America, with Sonic running away from a robot that looks like Gamma with legs, instead of much of a torso. And I assume he's running slowly intentionally, since Sally and Amy are waiting to ambush the robot. Oh, of course they don't get to actually hit the robot. Instead, they'll have to duck for some reason. No, she couldn't even look smart and competent here. Never mind. That would have told the audience that it was standard and they're really experienced at beating robots. Sally tells Sonic to put some distance between himself and that bot and regroup with them, as opposed to simply telling him to spin dash through it at Sonic speed and kill it instantly. Amy even tells him not to hog it all to himself for once. Is its metal so hard that he can't quickly kill it with a spin dash? At that point, how would Amy's hammer damage it, let alone Sally's attacks? How would they be assuming that? I guess the force of Amy's hammer is much stronger than I thought. It's good for the pacing that the story starts out with the heroes in Sumerica right away without wasting our time showing Sonic come back to Sally from Meropis. Sonic should have instantly been shown running up the wall instead of wasting our time. I guess running directly up a wall is just a magical power of his we have to accept now. Thanks, Lost World. Surprisingly, the robot shoots a laser at above where Sonic was running and makes him fall. And out of nowhere, he gets grabbed and saved by Ray, when the last time I saw him, he was in a rainforest with Mighty and some old guy, but we weren't told where the rainforest was. Apparently it was in Sumerica, so I checked my timeline again for nothing. This is why the reboot isn't even good at being a clean slate. Sonic isn't questioning at all why Ray's all the way in South America and right here to save him. He just thanks him. It's clear that the heroes know stuff that the audience didn't get to learn right when it happened, all because it was rebooted. I would have preferred to have seen one sentence in a reboot issue before this, where Sonic would be referencing the fact that Ray's in a jungle in Sumerica. It was referenced that Mighty was training, but that's not good enough, and that wasn't Sonic saying it. This is just needlessly confusing, and all because there wasn't a text box saying Sumerica the last time we saw Ray. Also, Sumerica was already a part of Archimobius, so it's not real world building. It's just reminding us of a place that only Flynn came up with in the reboot. Meropis was more impressive because it was at least original. We had never seen the name before, but this is just reusing Sumerica. That's cheating. Mighty hits the robot into the wall. What was he holding? That art sucked. Wasn't it obvious that his punching it would only be satisfying if we saw his fist hit it? After unlikable OCs waste my time, Mighty calls Sally Your Highness, saying greetings, speaking formally and bowing. It's like he's other and Mighty because he's so formal. And it seems like he and Ray have only been honorary freedom fighters recently, even though Knuckles Chaotix was a long time ago, since Sally has to tell him there's no need for formalities. I guess the only reason they're not actual freedom fighters, while big and creamable people are, is because they live too far away from them. Amy, on the other hand, yells at Sonic because she wanted a shot at the robot, and Sonic has to tell her that Mighty destroyed it instead of him, and she says that Sonic had her worried sick and she thought he was going to get killed, showing no faith in him to have survived that encounter, even though she's supposed to be Sonic's biggest fan. Again, why in the world did she get Sally's personality? Sally's right here! This is just as annoying as Sally's dynamic with Sonic. Sally should be saying this to Sonic instead. She's just picking any excuse she can to yell at Sonic. And I didn't like Sally and Sadie M specifically for that reason. If she was so worried about him, she should just be grateful the robot was destroyed, not annoyed that she didn't get to hit it. Mighty says his camp's not far, and says that they must be trying to save the world, and Sonic seems to think that Silver is a mind reader when he's not. It was always stupid he was called a psychic when he has telekinesis, which has nothing to do with psychic powers. Sure, he uses his mind to do magic, but so does literally every other character with special powers. Mighty hasn't met Silver yet, and he says that if Sally's here, it means Sonic has a purpose here, saying that Sonic's always on the move. Characters flattering Sally for being the princess is a start, but I'd rather have the focus on her being competent in varied interesting ways. Most of her accomplishments have been because she got Eggnet information, which anyone could have done, and she isn't always smart. She tells Mighty their mission to find the guide temples, and Ray says it was scary seeing the jungle fall into nothing through the crack. Hopefully this means he'll keep his sympathetic coward personality from earlier, but without the annoying stutter. And Mighty angsts that he couldn't do anything, even though we see a flashback of him carrying a bunch of little animals to safety. And Ray reminds Mighty of lessons from his master, I guess to make him stop blaming himself. It's just annoying because I have no attachment to that master and don't see why he had to exist. Mighty didn't need any improvement. He had no reason to take on a master. All this did was waste panels. How many OCs of Flynn have done nothing for the story but tediously waste panels? Like, OCs should at least have awesome moments. Sonic explains to Mighty that because Sally tapped into Eggman's network, whenever he gets a lead on anything, the heroes beat him to it. Sally says that since Eggman doesn't station his E-100 units just anywhere, it felt like that robot was just waiting to ambush them. You don't say. Why aren't they walking and talking? They could easily keep looking for the temple without wasting time. And I just remembered that Sonic could easily run all over the continent and find the temple at Sonic speed by himself, much faster than slowing himself down for his friends. He shouldn't have even needed to deal with the robot. He would have run past it and found the temple. He could have carried Amy with him if she's needed to find the temples. Wow, already the story makes no sense. Of course, I mentioned this earlier. The heroes don't know where exactly the temples are because apparently they're not on Google Maps or anything instead of being tourist attractions that people need to know about just in case. There's no excuse for them not knowing where the temples are. Especially after we were told that Amy's ability to play the Mystic Melody can narrow their search down. So why wouldn't it narrow it down much better? If multiple people doing the same rite amplifies the power of the rite, there's no excuse for them not getting a bunch of people to play the Mystic Melody at once back in Meropis, so that they could find out where all the temples were in one go. The heroes could have simply been told where the emeralds basically were by Professor Pickle right from the start, and skipped straight here. Professor Pickle could have narrowed the search down to a few miles. They couldn't have an entire story about Sonic traveling to a temple if he knew exactly where to run to. But why should they have an entire story about that? They don't have all the emeralds yet. Sonic could run to a temple and put an emerald in and then find all of the other temples. And then they'd quickly move on to just looking for the emeralds. He wouldn't instantly solve the whole story arc because he wouldn't have emerald to put into each temple. It's almost like long plots based on traveling to destinations and nothing but don't work when you've got a fast main character. You need stories where they're stuck in one place doing a bunch of stuff. Or running through all sorts of different places doing a bunch of interesting stuff. And don't have a reason to want to go to one place all story. More importantly, we could have stories where the heroes find the guide temples guarded by robots to beat. Because he knows it's a place his enemies are headed to. What could his friends possibly have to contribute that'll be worth slowing him down hundreds of times over? And what was Sally thinking? Ray wonders if the robot was brought in to help guard something because the Egg Army has been working hard to secure something. And Amy tells Sally that she's been overthinking it. Wait, what? I did a double take there. First I thought she was telling Ray he was overthinking it. Sally had every reason to assume Eggman would have prepared robots to ambush the heroes in places he knows they'll be going to. But Ray could be right too. Amy dismisses the idea that Sally's right completely, which makes her look silly. And I feel like Ray has noticeably less personality without a stutter. But at least now things are actually making sense instead of Flynn getting away with using yet another Pender's concept for free. Characters get scared all the time, so that's not a copyrightable concept. Still, I hope Ray becomes an interesting character. His awesome new design makes me want to love him. I think the goggles are worthless to him, but aesthetic-wise, they aren't because I'm glad he has something to break up the yellow, which fixes the problem with them. Mighty lives in a weird-looking house, but at least it's nature-y. He's asked for intel and says they've been scouting the base for weeks, and until now, there have been too many troops for even him to handle. It's almost like I'm traveling to a place to fight almost alone backfired. He introduces them all to his master, who has irritating dialogue. I hope he gets quickly killed off, like the cliche goes, because I'm already sick of him. Ray says that Mighty was so worried about losing control since he's so strong. Even though he's not a bad guy, if it was so easy for him to lose control, he'd be a bad guy by now. He doesn't have a dark and troubled past, does he? That would be interesting. but I doubt we're going to be told specific events where he did lose control. And thanks to this new character who didn't need to exist, Mighty's happy. Except he was happy in Archie just fine. So this guy's just another padding character. I'm glad, Sonic Lampshades, you found wisdom from this fuzzy fortune cookie? How did the writer think to write this line and not know that Sonic was right and the character was too annoying to be worth writing? The Master then publicly humiliates Sonic by saying that Sonic has an inner conflict and getting all his friends to worry about him because of the dark Gaia stuff he was sprayed with. It doesn't make any sense that he'd know this about him. Sonic had no reason to be thinking about it at that moment. This is the most forced way to get the heroes to confront him on it. And Sally already did try to confront him on it. And this is just going to lead to even more unacceptable padding that wasn't in the game if they talk about it, because Sonic revealed himself to his friends as the Werehog really quickly and Unleashed. He's padding out literally everything he can possibly think of. It's almost like the plot of Unleashed was just too basic to base an entire comic book around. Sonic tells his friends that he's fine to avoid worrying them. Amy complains that he's stubborn when she is too. And she suddenly senses the Chaos Emerald's energy in the air after music notes show up. I guess she played an instrument, but that was barely noticeable in that art. So she senses an emerald just a few miles south of them, as opposed to sensing the temple they're looking for. Why did she choose now to look for the emerald instead of a little earlier? So she immediately gave up on trying to get information out of Sonic and moved on to this, when I expect Amy to be stubborn. Well, that is smarter of her than wasting time. At least she's humoring Sonic. But that sure is a shitty Chaos Emerald radar if she has no idea where the emerald is in relation to her until she plays the Mystic Melody. Like, it's nothing like the Emerald radar in SC1. It's so likely at that point that they'll go too far ahead. Like she said, a few miles south of them. She doesn't say exactly how many miles ahead it is. I guess if Sonic was just running really fast while carrying Amy, it's very likely that he would run past where he's supposed to go. Because I guess they need to keep on stopping so she can play the Mystic Melody. Mighty says that Sonic might as well explain Amy's new power beyond her hammer now, because the only thing south of here is the base. So if they want to grab the emerald before they ship it off, they'll need to strike tonight, as opposed to right now. I was prepared for Sonic to go to the emerald right away, but no. I don't understand this writing. This is stupid. Sonic had no reason to waste time resting up. Mighty told him they ship it off tonight. So, does he want them to sleep at night or go on the mission? Go on the mission, apparently, even though he was warning them about night. They go to the dig site, and Sally's smart enough to get suspicious because they should still be guarding against the Dark Gaia monsters, and so she thinks it's too good to be true. Sonic decides to ambush them now, and Sally confusingly says that wasn't the plan. It's already inexcusable that they waited so long. Wasn't Sally supposed to be smart? And again, she doesn't have any faith in Sonic. Sonic's lucky she's even letting him go on freedom fighting missions then. Well, for once, Amy's on the same wavelength as Sonic, because she jumps in to fight badniks with him without a word of complaint. But I wonder if Sally will be proven right to arbitrarily make them look wrong when they're doing the only smart thing. I mean, what else were they supposed to do? Walk away and let Eggman keep the emerald? Sonic wonders if the army's all asleep, and looks like an idiot because he stood there talking and got interrupted. When he could have just spin dashed at the thing the emerald was kept in right away, instead of stopping to brag that he was right to Sally. And Amy could have been smacking that emerald container with her hammer the whole time. So the container's top opens up and sparks with electricity, and somehow the unlikable bad guy is surprised that Sonic fell for one of Eggman's traps. He always falls for them because otherwise the plot wouldn't go anywhere. So he doesn't actually have a choice. That's not his fault. While it confused me at first, it's good that he called him Lord Eggman, because he was called Lord Kintobor by the Overlanders in Archie, so that Overlander title carried on. Wait, did Bowler sue for his concepts too? Still makes no sense that anyone not brainwashed or robotic would call Eggman Lord, though. And the guy's in the mecha suit. Or he's a robot, I don't know. Ray gets shocked, so does Mighty, and all the characters get bounced away from him by the electricity. So the stress causes Sonic to go Werehog. But sadly, the issue ends right there to continue on to a backup story. Wow, they could have cut out all the padding and showed us at least some of the Werehog. Instead, the cover had absolutely no excuse for spoiling the werehog because he didn't do anything in the story. If someone bought it just for that, they'd feel cheated. I think I have the most issues with this cover artist. I don't remember the Reboot having so many issues that have covers that are complete spoilers. Well, I don't know if a different artist made the cover where Shadow was punching a gun soldier. Then we see Antoine on a hoverboard near Bunny in South America, saying that he's following a faint chaos energy signature while holding Nicole. And they're flying over a city that's flooded with the people on the rooftops. I'm both excited to see them do a variety of things throughout the story and save people again, and baffled that the writer had so little creativity that he just had a city get flooded again. I was expecting something else next time. Antoine speculates that when the world shattered, this town was left prone to floods. So why does any part of the world still get flooded when chaos is busy keeping the oceans from being drained? Wouldn't he prevent floods too? I like the parallel between Antoine and Bunny and these newlyweds, because they're both newlyweds, and they're on a car saying, just married. Oh, and just as I was hoping, the story isn't by Flynn. Bunny grabs the two people while flying, and Antoine says that everyone else got to higher ground before the flood hit. Wait, how'd they know to do that? I guess it was predicted, and they're all warned to. Like they all miraculously had an app on their phones warned them, and saw the news. And these guys were too preoccupied. Antoine gets sent into the ocean from something heavy falling, but I guess it only fell, behind him. And that created a wave for him to surf on after he stopped being underwater. So at least he got a cool moment. Even if it was totally... Meanwhile, Bunny was so busy staring at him in relief that she flew towards some wedding flickies. And I guess it makes sense that she'd instinctively move her arms around her face because of them and let go of the civilians. Except it doesn't. They would have had a much tighter grip on her hands than that. So her letting them go wouldn't have made a difference. The guy grabs her leg and he grabs her hand, but sadly even he wasn't allowed to be competent because she stereotypically slips out of his hand to escalate the drama for a pointless panel. So Antoine catches her and saves her with a clever one-liner that's only natural to be swept off your feet on your wedding day. It's refreshing to have him be actually smooth and good with the ladies, considering how he used to be. At least the guy doesn't resent Bunny, and thanks her for coming back for him. And she apologizes for her mistake. Then bullshit happens because Antoine says the signal has magically faded because it's just a magical energy shadow that makes no sense. So there's no Chaos Emerald here. Guys, you could just explain that Eggman made a fake Chaos Emerald signal to trick the heroes. Like in that one episode of Sonic X. Or made outright fake emeralds like the Metrix did. A fucking energy shadow? Are you kidding me? That was convoluted nonsense. I don't understand why they couldn't have found an emerald. I don't understand why they couldn't have been saving a larger variety of people than just two. Barely anything happened. I figured this would be inferior to the Station Square flooding because there were less main characters in it. But I at least assumed they would save more people than one couple. I completely stopped taking the story seriously at this point, so it's a miracle that Bunny and Antoine's moment at the end made me actually feel something. Bunny said she couldn't handle losing him, and they have a sappy moment. The story should have had more to it. Instead, Flynn's story ate up the comic space. That never seems fair. Flynn's story was about Sonic's friends all being shocked and ambushed near an emerald, so that Sonic goes super from stress. Werehog. And a lot of her time was wasted up to this point. There's no excuse for the heroes waiting until night instead of going to find the emerald instantly. But the plot would have been the same either way. Anyways, the second story was by Benjamin Bailey and Joey Esposito. And at least had the ingredients for a normally fantastic Sonic story. Because you had Sonic characters saving civilian soul story. But it was disappointing that they only saved two of them, which didn't meet my one expectation for the story. Somehow they padded out one couple being saved to last the whole story. But at least it made logical sense. But an energy shadow? Really? For the most part, the story was good because the heroes were being actual heroes. But that bullshit put me in a bad mood. Eggman would have looked smart and dangerously competent if that so-called energy shadow was his doing. I don't understand why they decided to add technobabble as a lame excuse for the overall story arc not being furthered. An emerald would be a perfect reward for Antoine's efforts. But that'd be great writing for a comic like this. Sally got an emerald in a story not by Flynn, so it's not like these stories aren't allowed to matter. And again, it started the creativity that we just saw another city get flooded. There's no world building at all. It could have been Station Square again for all it mattered. Who cares that they were in Sumerca? So that was another basic expectation I had that wasn't lived up to. Not a single thing was different and interesting about this place. You'd think that if they were in Sumerca, they'd at least speak with a Spanish accent. No sense having the writer embarrass himself writing a language he doesn't understand with Google Translate. But we couldn't even get the most basic of ways of making us feel like we're in a different country. That was stupid and Unleashed too. And you're supposed to improve on things when you remake a story, because there's no excuse not to. I guess the story was just alright.